This is GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly podcast about gaming, technology, and play. Your hosts are Michael Martine, Andy Piper, and Michael Rowe. The thoughts and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone and are not the opinions of any organization which they have been, are, or may be affiliated with.
This is episode 561, For the Birds. Hello and welcome again to another edition of GamesAtWork.biz. This is Michael Martine, one of the three co-hosts, and we're all here today, so you get to hear from each of us. Happy to participate, join, and talk some tech, as Michael Rowe likes to say, for this short slot in your commuter, whenever it is that you're listening to us. Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, and it's for me for my bathtub, right? Because, no.
Ooh, well, okay.
It's time for fun and excitement. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's very warm, as I think lots of places on the planet are unfortunately encountering some slightly warm weather at the moment. But beyond that, I am...
If only there was a term for that.
I know. Beyond that, I'm doing okay, and there's always some fun things to talk about when it comes to our show.
Yes, making me cough over here. So we're going to start things off today with some robotics. We do talk about robotics every so often on the show, and yesterday I heard a piece, and that caused me to go search it out because the Thursday edition of the journal Science had an article on a new robot from the MIT lab that has the ability to fly not only through the air, but also through water. And we know that, well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people probably know that penguins fly, if you will, through water. They don't fly through, well, in the air. They can wave their fins a bunch for that. And there are other sea diving birds that'll do both. And this was really intriguing to hear about how the creators of this did their work to say, let's create something that has battery powered. It is small enough to create the lift that's necessary, that they went through the exercise of waterproofing everything around it. And if I remember correctly, there was something along the lines of the wings beat about 5 times per second, while it's in flight, and to come up from the water and launch out of the water, it does about 10 per second in order to go do that. Really incredible stuff.
What I thought was really cool about this is, they modeled it after puffins, which are, seabirds that hunt in the water and live on land and fly in the air. And that the key thing is it's the transition between the mediums, which, if you think about it, that is kind of the challenge in many things, right, is when you transition between mediums, you build up frictions of some sort that can cause challenges. And I loved the fact that, even the weight of the thing was so light,
right?
But it had these huge, monstrous wings. I mean, they were 3 feet. And I don't think a puffin is structured that way. I think a puffin has much smaller wings to body mass ratio difference.
Yep.
But I'm not sure. I'm not a big puffin person.
Well, there's a picture of a puffin on the post.
I know, but I don't have scale in that picture. It's underwater, right? So, again, not being a puffin person, I thought it was really cool. I loved the little video where they actually showed the transition between the two media of water and air. And the other thing that I always find interesting, and yes, we can go back to the Wright brothers and everybody before them too, is they invented flight that can go between these two transition modes. Like, well, no, you invented mechanical version of that flight. You didn't invent flight.
And the Wright Flyer doesn't go in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, again, the Wright Flyer didn't invent flight either.
Yeah.
They invented mechanical flight. That's the point, not the transition. But we invent, quote unquote, a lot of things based off of nature, and I thought that was really cool.
I think that exactly like what you just said, the idea of taking inspiration from nature gives us these opportunities, and I think really deeply looking at how biological systems have worked through evolution and applying that to mechanics is really, really interesting. Yeah, I love it. I think the challenges here are also as well about that needing to waterproof everything, because it's just essentially constantly submerged. The body of the thing is constantly submerged. I think, yeah, it could be really fascinating to see where they take this and what they do with it. And I think it's okay that it's not, a giant robot or even a human-sized robot. It's a little thing, and it has got a little bit of flexibility and opportunity to move around in different places.
So would you scale it up to a large robot?
Yeah, why not?
What would that look like?
To do that, I think the forces are going to be the problem, right? Because they're talking about the fact that they need it to flap its wings a significant amount of time. I think they're talking about, 5 to 6 times a second to maintain flight, right. And then 10 times a second to leave the water and get into the air. So to be able to do that and then deal with extra weight, extra size of the wings, extra forces you'd need to generate
it's why aren't there 6 foot tall ants, right? It's physics. There's certain levels when things scale that they break.
Look,
so what do you guys think about the use cases of such a thing, right? When you think about a robot that can transit between water and air like this, what do you think would be great use cases?
How about a bird?
Effectively consuming fish?
Yeah. Or they could put little wings on penguins. So penguins could actually do the second half of the journey, right? They can get out of the water and fly up to the cliff instead of jumping off the cliff to get into the water.
Well, the article talks about what they're thinking that it could be useful for. So the biological monitoring of algal blooms. I hear that there's some of those around the DC area at the moment. And coastal erosion and other things. And I can certainly see those as opportunities. It's not going to be a deep water type thing, but it could have the right level of agility to stay with shoals of fish, for example. So it could be interesting.
I mean, any type of sensor device is really what we're talking about. That needs to go into areas that are not right next to land, and you're not going to drop a buoy, because you can do buoys and do algae blooms, right? And they don't need to fly because they can just transmit the data. And so there are lots of use cases I can come up with that I don't like military use cases and violent use cases. But the interesting ones, I think, can you make them cheaper, more flexible, able to access different spaces than you could with something as simple as a buoy?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I was thinking a little bit about was aquaculture, so that if you are doing fish farming or clams, oysters, that sort of thing, you could more easily monitor and inspect without being on a boat, for example, as a human. This sort of thing could be good. And then you could kind of survey the entirety of it. I also really liked when we talked about Dr. Darling and her experiences about robotics doing things that animals had done for humans in the past. So whether it's oxen pulling a plow and the like, and also mimicking animals in terms of robotics, both of those things were quite cool. All right, so moving along from the avian world, we now have an article about PDAs, and we've all had PDAs in the past. That's a cool thing in a lot of ways, but this one is an e-paper powered PDA, or provided PDA. We'll keep all the P's going as long as we can. Michael, looks like you found this one. What was your general sense of the Pocket Mage?
I just love, again, the idea of more restricted, purpose-built electronic devices that use lower, less expensive tech. We talked about the light phone a couple of years back that I tried to get working. We talked about stuff recently in this same vein, and having a PDA with an e-paper screen is right in that space. I've actually found myself going back to an e-reader for reading stuff instead of using my iPad, just because it's restricted content, in the sense of I'm not going to be checking my Mastodon feed or catching an email coming through. And while this one does have the idea of incremental functionality and adding apps and blah, 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 I found it cool. I do like the fact that it has a QWERTY keyboard. Kind of reminds you of the... was it the Sidekick with the flip-up screen with the little keyboard on it?
The danger one, yeah.
And then also PDA. You and I both have soft spots for the old Palm Pilots. I had the original one, the 2, the 5. I think you had the 7. I had the WorkPad. These were all fun little semi-purpose-built or restricted purpose-built devices, and I just thought this one was cool.
I had a little Casio PDA type thing. It was grey, I guess it was about hand-sized, and it had a little flip-up lid, and yeah, it was just a tiny little screen. I like what you just said, Michael Rowe, about these smaller, more purpose-built, lower power devices. If you look at what's going on in the supply chain, of course, we know that it's been crushed by, or the consumer side of it's been crushed by the AI bubble and other things going on, and the desire to have bigger, better, more powerful things all the time. And actually, we've got much more than we need already. Much more than we need. And these kinds of things, I think you're right about having things that are more purpose-built, because they can help us to be less distracted. I say this because in the full knowledge that I am an easily distracted human at this point in my life, I've had my attention span whittled down by all of the devices I have and their capability, and I can do this, I can do this, I can just go and check this. And actually it doesn't always lead to productivity by any means. So I a few things to add on this. I'd also seen this story come across my radar, I think before, as Michael posted it into our group chat. And one thing about it brought back was the whole resurgence or interest around cyberdeck, so cobbling together systems from that kind of look cool, that have a level of functionality that are kind of generally laptop-ish in form factor. This is smaller, but there's a lot of these kinds of devices on the crowdfunding market at the moment. This one being e-paper obviously means that, or with an OLED as well, means that it's low power, it can be lighter. Even arguably, these are the kinds of things you could go down the road of solar powering or having some other kind of lightweight way to harvest power. It reminded me that next week I'm going to be at Electron and Magnetic Field, and I'll be there I won't be able to record the show next week, but really the whole ethos of that event is a bunch of geeks and makers and techies and people interested in sustainability and community and lots of other good things getting together and sharing fun stuff that we've been doing or working on or thinking about. And usually it's completely silly and pushing an idea to its furthest extent. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of installations along that line. This year's theme, or every 2 years, this year's theme is space. The previous one was solar punk. The previous one to that was underwater. So there's a ton of sort of space age kind of oriented stuff that I've been messing around with, that I'll be doing. But one of my friends has created a marketplace on sellshirts.com for what he's calling HTTP shirts. So that's basically a bunch of geek t-shirts with comedy HTTP codes on. But as well as that, there's a range of other things that have come into it. And one of them is, which I picked up straight away, was computers were better when they were worse, which I think is a fantastic slogan, and I really enjoy. So I bought that one for myself to rock at the event next week. The other thing that this led me down the path of thinking about is not only the PDAs and the cyber decks that everybody is excitedly building and cobbling together from whatever level of technology. But another project that's going to be on Crowd-Supply, it is on Crowd-Supply, they haven't started crowdfunding it yet, which is the open printer, which we may have spoken about a year ago. It's been sort of knocking about as an idea for a while now, but it's a French organization who are building an inkjet printer from scratch that's going to be fully open source, open hardware, open software. The bill of materials is going to be available, and it will either print to A4 or A3 sheets or onto a roll. It can be hung on a wall, and it's sustainable. The goal of this thing is to be sustainable. The goal of this thing is not to be a closed printer consumable ecosystem where you're buying your fancy inkjet printer or laser printer from one of the incumbent manufacturers who then want a demand to keep you on the hook for consumables to the point that they deliberately make their products worse and make them fail more quickly and make their ink cartridges DRM encumbered. That's not the goal of this. The goal is to make some good technology. So I wanted to bring that into the conversation as well, because I love Crowd-Supply. I keep an eye on Crowd-Supply all the time. You can get some clunkers from there that people haven't really thought about the manufacturing and ongoing life of a product. But you can also find some absolute gems of products from smart people who want something unique, want something more sustainable, and want something better from technology. One more thing I'll mention, since neither of you have immediately responded to that, is that there's another organisation called the Society for Hopeful Technologists, which is in the process of forming. They've recently become a cooperative organisation in the UK, and there's going to be a membership element to it coming soon. But I've been involved in the organising chat for this for a while now, and I will be taking some of their stickers and badges along to EMF and encouraging people to think about this, because technology can be there to be empowering. That's why I'm involved. That's why I get excited about technology still. I get depressed about the way the economy and the world and technology's part in it all come together sometimes. But we have agency, we have hope, we have the opportunity to build cool things. And again, Crowd-Supply for me is part of that kind of continuum of positive things. I will stop talking because I feel like I've just taken up a big chunk of time.
No, not at all. And I was chiming in a positive way, but I guess you were talking, you didn't hear. Or maybe I just wasn't close enough to the microphone. I think this is really, really cool. And as soon as I got to the article on the printer, which I again think is kind of neat, I immediately started going down the rat hole of other interesting things on Crowd-Supply.
Crowd-Supply is great. Crowd-Supply, they've got an add-on board for the Bamboo X1C. None of the other Bamboo printers, because at that point, after the recent sort of kerfuffle around open source, closed source, the X1C was their first model, and this person managed to figure out how he could build his own controller for it. So I've had one of those. So mine is completely kind of open, or much more open than it comes, but they've kind of locked it down now. But again, there's some really cool stuff on Crowd-Supply across a range of axes, whether it's gaming, whether it's printing, whether it's PDAs, or electronics testing. There's some cool stuff on there, so do have a look.
Yeah, I'm wondering, and I've got to find. We've got an old Lenovo laptop that is still in excellent condition, except for one thing, and the one thing is this was back when wireless was still considered to be possibly a security issue, and well, now we know it is, but it physically had a toggle on the side of the machine that would turn off the Wi-Fi.
I remember. Yeah,
and the toggle has gone bad, and so what happens is you boot up.
Is it locked on or off, Michael?
So what happens is you boot up, you start working on Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi shuts off.
So
and then
it's
you
working
fiddle with the switch, and then it turns on, and then it turns itself off again because the switch has gotten bad, and it's not quite a short, but any jostling or whatever of the laptop will jiggle that switch and turn it off.
Right.
which makes it an unusable laptop for the things that we want to use it for. And I actually went and reached out to a local company that supposedly does work on ThinkPads, and old ones like, oh yeah, you should just buy a new one. It's like, no, we don't want to buy a new one. This one has every feature we want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We just need you to open it up, find where that switch is, replace it, solder a new one on the motherboard. I don't want you anything else. No, that's too much work.
You need an electrical engineer for that.
The other thing that EMF has, is electromagnetic field has, is a swap shop. And I've seen, so you can take along and pick up stuff, electronics typically. I've seen somebody donating a ThinkPad, pre-announcing that they're donating a ThinkPad there. So I'm sure that will go very fast because they're great machines.
Oh, yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. But looking to take it back to the story, to crowd supply, my immediate thought was, I wonder if there's anything, little hack piece that allows me to like maybe reattach a new wireless or something in there. I know you can get, and I think this one doesn't have the PCMCIA slot in it anymore. This is after they got rid of that, because I used to have a 802.11ab PCMCIA card that you'd slip into your laptop, and it had this like little bubble thing that stuck out the side, which was the antenna. It'd be really cool to get that thing working, I guess. So I wonder if there's a USB plug that's actually a Wi-Fi.
So we've gone.
There has to be.
We've gone thoroughly rat hole
into the weeds. I love it, and that's what Crowd Supply does.
I will just mention.
Down that path.
Also, Crowd Supply is for crowdfunding new things of those kind. There are there's 3 good electronic marketplaces for independent makers. One of them is called Tindie, Tindie. However, it recently had some controversy because it went through an unexpected and unexplained change of ownership, had a long period of downtime, wasn't paying out to the store owners and so on. There's been a European alternative to Tindie called Lectronz, Lectronz or Z, which has been going for a while. And a lot of people moved from Tindie to Lectronz, or set up an additional storefront on Lectronz while Tindie was down for an extended period. But the thing with Lectronz is it doesn't support PayPal, I believe, which is what a lot of, especially US sellers wanted. So there's another one called SmallRun, as in small run. These are all kind of small community-driven maker marketplaces. And again, if you're looking for weird esoteric things like what you've just described, Michael, those are 2 places I would encourage you to have a look. I can't tell you that you will definitely find a solution to the specific problem you have. You will probably find lots of other gadgets that look really cool and useful instead.
And that's the problem.
But it has been, and it's interesting because from an economic perspective, the bulk shipping from China thing has gone away, both in the US and Europe now, where they've taken away the free shipping for small items. So they're putting on, what's it called? My brain is blanking on the name of the de minimis is the word. The word. So they've just taken away de minimis in Europe as well, because they were worried about the way that the products were coming in, and especially when they hadn't necessarily been safety tested or didn't meet relevant standards. But that's making a lot more difficult for some of the independent makers. But there are a bunch of folks who do make some quite fantastic bits of kit. And again, I'm excited to meet some of them at EMF next week, because I know that I'll be in a night market. We'll be selling plotter prints, and they'll be selling homebrew computers and things.
So Andy,
cool.
you need to know about this, and maybe you too, Michael. As I was looking for SmallRun, as you're talking, there is a smallrun.com.au, and those guys will let you create your own music on vinyl.
Ooh.
So they will do custom vinyl records.
That's
looks
crazy.
Like liner notes, the whole kit, if that's something that you are interested in doing.
This is really cool, because
Isn't that fun?
My father-in-law makes music, and I think that'd be a really cool thing we could do for him.
There you go.
With one of his oh wow, that would be.
Do you think he's a listener?
Oh yeah, whoops! I may have just. Sorry, Barry, if I've just ruined the surprise.
We may need to edit that out, Michael.
Yeah,
we may. And you guys just solved a major problem for me because it got me running down rat holes now.
Yes. All right. So speaking,
we
of
were
rat
worried
holes,
about having not enough links to talk about and fill our time because we'd cut out lots of stuff we didn't want to talk about, and now we've managed to fill the time with unexpected sidelines.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So speaking of, these sidelines and rat hole kind of things, there is a pair of videos. It's pretty substantial here, Andy. You shared with us about Pico Park. Why don't you unlock this story?
First of all, had either of you come across Pico Park before?
No.
I had, yes.
Okay, so for listeners that are not familiar with Pico Park,
Michael.
One of the Michaels. Originally, it was 2016. It came out. It's been on a few platforms, including Windows and the Switch. It's on Steam. It's got these little cute little colourful characters that look a little bit like cats, but that doesn't really matter. It's a cooperative game. It's developed by a Japanese developer. And the whole point of it is that it's cooperative. So you need to work together to achieve goals. And typically that involves reaching certain points by climbing on one another, by moving around, pushing, jumping into places to press a button to enable the other character to get to the place. So, yes, it's a fun game regardless. But what happened in these two videos that came out, I think, in the last couple of weeks was somebody decided to wire in some AIs to them. The first video is where they take what they call, they kind of label the 5 best, smartest, most capable AI, and then tell these 5 characters to work together to achieve a goal. And they have to do it essentially by screenshotting, by literally freeze framing the whole game and screenshotting every time, and then giving it back to each of the AIs so that they can all determine what to do next. And it's quite a fun video where you hear them all, and it gives voices to each of the AI, so you can hear them all kind of narrating and interacting with one another. They develop a kind of an election system to determine which one should be in charge for each game cycle or each cycle. The following one is where they take 100 AIs, including like every model that you've never heard of. I
had to dig into this Kimmy one because I didn't know very much about it.
Right. So
before this,
tell us about Kimmy now that you know about it.
Well, I don't know an awful lot more than I did before. It's apparently from China. It's part of the Moonshot AI. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of articles saying it's a great thing, and let's compare it to other models here too, which this is a good way of doing sort of a model-to-model comparison, is applying it into a game-type structure and see how that goes, right?
In this case, they have to collaborate, so you don't necessarily see which one is more capable exactly, but you do see how they're capable of collaborating, and with agentic kind of processes where things are delegating either to versions of copies of themselves as agents, or in this case, copies of other AI. It's quite interesting. I found it. We had a bunch of AI links this week, which we chose not to go into because they were all a bit depressing. But I found this one because of the game element and the cooperation element, and the kind of decision-making processes that come along. You also see some kind of funny, snarky kind of chat come out.
You can see their personalities come out. I was going to say, when there's like, Kimmy, stop doing that. You go to the left. No, the other left.
Yeah.
Don't stop jumping up. Stop jumping at the same time.
It's a good piece of YouTube entertainment, I think.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
It really is. It was loads of fun. I probably spent way too much time watching them because I watched both back to back and then zipped back and went through parts of it. And it's just like, it's so entertaining. And knowing kind of the underlying tech underneath all of it, it made even more sense. So, very, very fun stuff.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of the different AIs talking to one another through smart speakers. And so I'll have to go and hunt that down when we talked about that last, and we'll put that link.
That was Alexa and Siri, and what was the third one? Whatever the Google one was, all like trying to get each other to do stuff.
Yeah. Wasn't using the names because I didn't want the wake word to happen to anybody. But
I didn't say hey.
Yeah. You don't have to anymore.
I know.
as you know. All right. So last on our list here, we won't dive super deeply, but this was an article that I came across in Inc. magazine, not one of the ones I read all the time, but it was talking about an issue with the Starbucks app. And the issue with the Starbucks app was that the app was down, which broke a lot of people's normal morning routines of putting something into the app so that their order was exactly right, exactly the way they wanted it, so they could pick it up and keep on rolling. And the article had some intriguing comments in there, and I know each of us had our own perspective. My one pullout was convenience creates its own fragility. And I thought that was an interesting observation, that the marketing team and Starbucks themselves could have done something really positive with this, a la what Levi's did when they were told that they had to hide their brand. But that was my quick takeaway. Michael, you said you had another perspective.
Yeah, I took it down the fact because, as many of our listeners probably know, I was a very, very early customer, I think the second week they opened, of my favorite local coffee shop. And they've had a Starbucks move in twice near them. The first one shut down. And now Starbucks bought a physical site so they can move in literally within hundreds of yards of their store, because there's this great habit formed of people who go to Bean Traders, which is such a wonderful little coffee shop, great vibe, great coffee. And my thought process was there is habit and there is loyalty. And you don't really build loyalty to a faceless brand or an app as such. But if you know the people and you know the place and the vibe and everything else, you can build that out. And then when we started thinking back of last week, we talked about Ian Bogost's article. It kind of aligned with that to me too, on little small things. And to me, the fact that something so trivial as an app going down is going to cause you, who supposedly are just so dedicated to this habit of getting your daily Starbucks, it didn't surprise me that you couldn't even be bothered to go to another coffee shop. You just said, "Oh, screw it, I'm out of here." Right? You being the people in the article, and I was. It got me down, like I said, down the path of what is a real habit versus something that's just driven out of habit, for lack of a better term. I know those are overloaded terms. Andy, what did you think?
I found it interesting because I don't have a clear awareness of how used the mobile ordering experiences in the UK in particular. I do use it. I have used it. I use it maybe
I don't use them.
Once or twice a month. But if I know I'm in a location, specifically when I do my maker meetup, Hack Wimbledon, because I know there's a Starbucks down the road and I want to go and do a coffee run for a few folks, and I can put an order in ahead, walk 5 minutes down the road, it'll be ready when I get there and come back. That is generally an unusual way for me to interact with a store or a takeaway or a pickup or any of those kind of things. I don't use it very much. I think the habit forming you both just discussed is the key element of the whole story, right? If you've trained people that this is the only way to interact with you, or the best way, or the way to interact with you, then why would they do anything other than go somewhere else and give up? I'm surprised, though, that, and I want to say that it wouldn't have such an impact in the UK or in other markets.
And with that, I think we're done.
Through the magic of editing.
There you go. See you later, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to GamesAtWork.biz, the podcast about gaming technology and play. We are part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network, and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song, Big Blue. You can follow us at our website at GamesAtWork.biz.